Howdy y'all. I thought I would, instead of going live today, I want to talk about something last night. Something I did last night that is drastically different now that I weigh 100 pounds less while I do my makeup. This is not a makeup tutorial, by the way, obviously. Sometimes I don't notice all the changes that have happened and all the things that are different. A lot of times they feel like they happen all of a sudden, and then there's some where you're like, you just don't see the daily things until you're put in a situation where you notice things are very different. Did that make any sense? Because I'm so tired. I'm so freaking sleepy. Everett update. He's at his last day of daycare for the week. It's Friday, the day that you're watching this. I'm taking my CBG. This gives me a little energy boost. It helps my gut health, my skin, my histamine, my allergies, literally everything. It's just so good for you. So down the hatch, I need the pick-me-up so bad. So last night I went out to dinner with my girlfriend slash neighbor, Lynn. She's right down the road from me. I've mentioned a lot about sobriety. I actually had someone ask me the other day if I had a drinking problem prior. Is that why I've been mentioning being sober a lot? I did not have a drinking problem, but I hated how I felt every single time I drank. I hated how I felt the next day. It just makes me feel really yucky. I don't love the way that I feel, and I also think I used it to get through social situations, and I didn't love that I was relying on something. Let me move you over a little bit. Despite seeming like I'm probably really outgoing and you can't imagine that I would have social anxiety, I absolutely do, especially out in public. So I've always turned to alcohol. I've always used alcohol as a crutch for that. And the difference between maybe me and somebody who can casually drink is when I drink alcohol, even though it is not often, I don't know when to stop, and I always get drunk. Like, there's no just like a buzz, like, no, I get drunk and I never feel good about it the next day, and I always regret it. So I decided to no longer do that to myself, and now it's just kind of a challenge. So my friend Lynn as well, she doesn't drink for different reasons. Not because she has a drinking problem either, but because she has different reasons. Her not being an addict either. But we decided, you know, she's a single mom and we wanted to go out to dinner last night. She's been a very big part of my life, I would say. Well, Lynn, this is sweet. I'm talking about you. Are you gonna get weird? She's been a really big part of my life these last 8 months. And so supportive over this weight loss journey of mine. I hate calling it that, but that's, call spade a spade. It is what it is. So we went out to dinner last night. We went to this really cool restaurant, and typically I was talking to her last night. She was mentioning, I made a post of me being able to get off the ground, and I remember when I made that post, she was like, I would never think of that. Lynn is normal, typical size, never dealt with obesity, has never been overweight, and never has had to think about the things that I have had to think about as a fat person living in the world and just out in normal day life. There are things that fat people think about that not necessarily skinny people would think about at all. And things that have changed that may not be huge for some, but for someone like me, it's huge. It's a big deal. And I'm not saying that every fat person feels like me in these situations. I'm not saying that every fat person struggles with what I struggle with. I am not the voice of fat people. And when I say fat, please do not get offended or tell me that it's a bad word. If it makes you uncomfortable, I totally understand. It has been ingrained in our brains to say that the word fat is a horrible word. It's not a bad word, it's an adjective. I remember when I made the video of me being able to get off the ground, and Lynn messaged me and was like, I would have never thought about that you would have had trouble getting off the ground. And I had trouble getting on the ground, getting off the ground. So now being able just to do that in itself is a huge victory. That is something that fat people think about. When I would go to the park or play groups or speech therapy, I remember when we started speech therapy with Ella, it was really hands-on in parent trainings. And I had to get up and off the ground and up and down off the ground. And I would think about that constantly on the way to speech, on the way to occupational therapy. I'm like, oh, how physical am I gonna have to get today? And it wasn't even hard. It was just getting up and down off the ground without embarrassing myself. And those are things that I have thought about my entire life. How far do I have to walk? Is it going to be hot? Am I going to be uncomfortable? Am I going to have to sit on the ground? What are the chairs going to be like? Another really great example is when we went to the Teresa Caputo show, we looked up the size of the seats at the Peabody Theater because it's ingrained in my brain that I might not fit in these seats and I need to come up with a game plan. I've always had a game plan of what steps do I need to take, what am I gonna do if this situation happens, and all of those things were based off purely my size. And not having to live that way anymore is really eye-opening. Last night we went to dinner, and for the first time, probably in my life, typically when I would go out to eat, which I don't go to restaurants very often, we're like order-in people. We're just not restaurant type people, I thought. But the reason I didn't love going to restaurants is because I was always wondering if I was gonna fit in the seats. What kind of seating arrangements do they have? Is it a booth? Am I going to be able to squeeze in the booth? Am I going to be able to sit comfortably? Are people going to stare at me while I'm eating? Are people judging me right now because I'm fat and I'm enjoying a meal? So typically at a restaurant, I would eat a few bites and pack it up, take it home and eat it there. I didn't do that last night. I wore shorts out to dinner. I sat down. I couldn't tell you who was in that restaurant because I sat down and enjoyed a really nice meal. We didn't overeat. We made really good choices. It was kind of a restaurant where you can make really good choices. And I was comfortable in my chair. I wasn't spilling over the sides. I was able to sit really comfortable in a restaurant chair for the first time in my adult life that I can remember. And I was telling this to Lynn and she's like, I would never even think about something like that. And that's not her being rude. It's her being like, she doesn't think about stuff like that. And that's all I have thought about my entire life. And I was eating food and I didn't feel guilty about it. I didn't feel like people were watching me eat or judging me for what I was eating or how I was eating. I just was in the moment, and I have not had a moment like that at a restaurant ever. I honestly can't think of a time in a restaurant where I haven't been uncomfortable or thinking that everybody's staring at me. Again, this may not apply to you, but it applies to me. And that is something that has drastically changed with this weight loss, is I am more comfortable just in general out in public. I am more comfortable in my skin. I'm more comfortable in my ability to move around, to sit in a chair and not feel like it's going to break. I am more comfortable moving, walking to the restaurant. Like, we had to park a little not far away, but we had to park further away. I didn't think about sweating as I was walking to the restaurant. I didn't think about the walk back. Those are all things that would circle my brain any other time if I was close to 400 pounds again. I don't know if I'm the only one who has experienced this, or if you know what I'm talking about, please let me know down below. Let's have a conversation about it, because Lynn was just flabbergasted about all of the things that I think about or have thought about in my life from being obese. It controls your entire life, and you can say all you want, and maybe you mean it, like size doesn't matter, I don't think about those kinds of things, but I think you may find you think about it more or subconsciously do things because of your size than you're even aware of. Things that are just ingrained in our brains, especially if you've been plus size your entire life like me. I've been plus size since I was 8, obese since I was 8 years old, and I'm still obese. It's not like I am done losing weight and I'm tiny and I have a normal sized body and everything is perfect now. I still have a lot of work to do, but just the difference I feel now is absolutely mind-blowing. And it was kind of emotional for me. Like, we just had such a good time. I didn't overeat. I didn't worry about anything. I didn't have a hangover today on top of my kid not sleeping last night because I had to drink to be able to cope, to be in a public area, so I felt more loose. I feel like I've always turned to alcohol as a crutch to help me loosen up so that I can enjoy public outings. And the more things I'm doing without that crutch, the more secure I feel. Hold on, let me handle L. I never realized how much my size affected my everyday decisions, my everyday choices, my sobriety choices per se. So no, I was not a raging alcoholic, but I turned to alcohol for reasons that I don't like. And now it's a goal of mine to just not drink for as long as possible. Plus it's really bad for you. I know I've said that, but it's terrible for you. And I don't want to feel terrible. It's a personal choice. And Lynn and I were talking about this last night. I don't care if people have drinks around me. I don't care if you enjoy an alcoholic beverage. I don't judge you for it. I don't think it's something that anybody should judge anything on. There's people who have no issue and can drink a glass of wine and be fine. I am not one of those people, and I've accepted that. It just doesn't fit my lifestyle and my choices anymore. And with every passing thing that I do without that crutch in social settings, the more confident I feel and the stronger I feel. And it's just one more thing I've added onto this weight loss journey is sobriety. Obviously, I do use my CBD. You guys are on top of my gummies right now. I do use my CBD, CBN, and stuff like that. It has very, very trace amounts of THC in it, but I use it more as a wellness supplement. It doesn't make you feel high or anything. And that has really helped me as well. It's chilled me out, and I'm not feeling like I need alcohol. And I don't know. Let me know down below if there's anything. If you're a big person like me, I know I'm not the only one. A lot of us have the same struggles and successes, and I'm interested to hear if there's anything in your life that maybe if you've lost weight or just in your normal life you haven't lost weight, because it doesn't matter, but is there something that you do differently out in the real world because of your size? Is there something you plan ahead for or think about? I've made several videos about flying, about going to Disney World. I've always been very anti-Disney because of my size. I don't know if I actually hate Disney or if I just don't like going because of all the walking and the sweating and the people. And I just don't know if it's truly something I don't like or if it's something I don't like because of my size. So that is something I have to figure out too, but I know I can't be the only one. So please sound off down below and let me know. Did things change for you? Little things, or is there stuff that you noticed that you used to think about that you don't think about as much now that you're either healthier on a weight loss journey, or even if you've lost a couple pounds, just things that feel different? I'm interested to hear from you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and get about the rest of our day, but I just wanted to have that conversation with you because it was such an impactful conversation last night between Lynn and I about the differences between somebody who has never struggled with their weight and somebody who has always struggled with their weight, and things that I think about that she has never thought about. I'm interested to hear both sides down below, and we will see you guys in the next video. Bye, friends.